Hey there, and welcome to Industry Night with me, Nycci Nellis, the show that takes you on the deep dive of the happenings in the hospitality community. If you're new here, hi, welcome. And if you're old here, hi, welcome back. So a little bit about me, who I am and what I do. I've been covering the DC food, wine, and hospitality scene for the last 20 years. You check out the list, areyouonit.com, the online museum that tells you everything happening in the DC metro area. You want to know what's open, it's in there. You want to know what to do for the weekend, it's in there. You want to know every food and wine event happening, it's all in there, so check it out. Of course, you want to follow me at NYCCI, Nellis, on all the platforms, especially Instagram, because that's where I post absolutely everything I'm doing. But you check out this show, Industry Night, on YouTube, and of course you can download it on any podcast platform you prefer. And you tune in every Sunday to Foodie and the Beast, DC's area's only food and wine variety show. We've been on air for almost 16 years as of September, so don't miss any of that. Okay, so as you can see, I'm still out here in beautiful Delaplane. I'm here for the next couple shows. I'm very excited because I'm at the gorgeous Barrel Oak Winery and Brewery. So we're in a different location than we were last week. And I just have to tell you what a treat it is to be here, because it doesn't matter if you're in where you are in the DMV, or if you're like in Philly, or where you're coming from, but the drive out here, like you start like on a major highway and then it like kind of goes down to like a smaller highway and then a smaller highway, and then you're just kind of on a road, and all those like little like office parks kind of disappear, and it's just pastures and cows, and it just totally lowers your blood pressure. It's so nice. Like, don't you wish you were here with me, because it's so pretty? And I have to be honest with you, is it just me, or is like everybody just running and gunning? Like, I feel like there's just like fatigue out there. Everybody is so busy, and coming out here just lowers the blood pressure and just makes it feel so much better. So I am buzzing because I've just been out a bunch. There's just a lot going on, and I have a lot of places to go to. So if you follow me again on Insta, you're on that journey with me. But if you're not, I'm going to give you a little heads up and tell you what's going on. So I was at Namak, which is Saeed Azali's new Middle Eastern / Turkish / Persian restaurant. Mm-hmm. It's in Adams Morgan. It's where the Mintwood place was. I think the food is fantastic. First of all, the vibe is really cool, very clean, lots of white, lots of wicker. It's got a very great vibe in there. But not only that, the service is amazing, and it's really a neighborhood restaurant, but the food is terrific. I also checked out in the square, which is Ruben Garcia and Richie Brandenburg's place. They have Kiyomi Sushi by Uchi, which is a pop-up at the moment. And he's a Nakazawa alum. His name is Masaki Uchino, but he goes by Uchi. And their lunch special is debatable on whether or not you think it's a special. I thought it was a good deal, but others have told me not so much. So for $40, it's 7 courses of sushi and a hand roll, and then some miso soup. And the sushi is done really beautifully. It's pristine, like photo worthy. I don't know. I thought it was terrific. I would go back. It was totally worth it. I did check out Chef Janelle Harris's new restaurant up in the Petworth neighborhood. It's called Almeida. This is in the former Himitsu space. I just said this earlier to one of my guests that I feel like that space where Himitsu was is like the word fetch. Like, they keep trying to make that space happen for a restaurant. Because it's been like 80 places. It is a great space, but it's super, super tiny. I think it's a little bit less than 30 seats. So you really have to turn it over a lot to make the math work for it. But having said that, I think what Chef Harris is doing is really interesting. It's food inspired by the African diaspora, sort of nurtured by where she grew up. And so there's things like spaghetti and catfish on the menu. This really fabulous, cool crab dish spiked with chilies. So it was a real interesting menu, and there were things on there that I did not get to go to, so I'm looking forward to going back and checking that out. And lastly, I did a quick trip up to Kalaya, which won the James Beard Award for Best Mid-Atlantic last year. This is Chef Knock. She's very well known in Philadelphia. It's a new space. She moved from over by the Italian markets to, what's it called? God, I can't think of the name of the area. But anyway, she moved to a different area. The space is much bigger. And her food is delicious, and she is unapologetically authentic. And I say that because a lot of the food is very spicy, so don't bring your American palate to the table and start complaining about what Chef Nak is doing. You don't like spice, don't go. But the food is really terrific. And she does this, what she calls a tom yum soup, which is really like a massive seafood tower, but done Thai style. It's $95, and she got a bit of blowback about it because it's $95. But anywhere you go for a seafood tower, it's $125 plus. It's worth it. So if you're heading up to Philadelphia, I would definitely get a reservation there because I think the food is fantastic. Okay, but now I'm back here. I'm at Barrel Oak, and as I was saying earlier, I do love the drive out here. And did you know what else you can do out here? Like, so I come out here because I love Lost Mountain. It's one of the hikes you can do out here. It's so glorious. You like go through pastures and like cows, and then you go up the hill, and it's not too hard. And then you have this gorgeous view, and then you go down the hill. But then what do you do after the hike? Then you go to a vineyard. So this one, Barrel Oak Winery and Brewery, is literally right around the corner from Lost Mountain. So it's super easy to do. And then what do you do? After that, you go out to dinner. Maybe you go to Tremello, or maybe you have a pizza by Knead Winery. All those things are possible because all those people are going to be joining me on the show today. So let's see, who am I starting with? Okay, I am starting with Adriana Luca, who I know from way back in the day because she used to work at the Source, and we used to call her the other Ricca because she looked like Ricca, who also worked at the Source. But yes, she's her own person, and I'm so thrilled she's here with me today because she is the general manager here at the property. And then I'm going to be talking with two different chefs who are doing very different things. First, I'm going to be talking with Jared Slip, who many of you may have known, and I've known him since also back in the day, like Nectar days. So those of you who've been in the DC market, like remember Nectar. But he was at City Zen and lots of other places. He's front of the house primarily. He is a master som, by the way. I think there's only 270 right now in the country. So he's got some accolades. I mean, I'm going to let him come on and brag about it. But what's most exciting is the restaurants he's creating. So he does a Knead pizzeria. There's actually an outpost here at Barrel Oak Winery and Brewery, but he also has a restaurant called Tremello. Of course, there are massive wine programs at both these places. I'm going to let him tell you all about it. And then another chef who is working out here at the winery and brewery is Chef Pete Smith. So he has a really interesting background because what we have not talked about at this property is the cabin. There is a cabin that you can rent, and I feel like calling it a cabin is not explaining it well. It's this like really posh house that you can rent with a gorgeous terrace, gorgeous views. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I'm going to let Adriana Luca tell you all about it. But hi, Adriana.
Hi.
So nice to have you and see you.
I'm so excited to have you in the countryside.
I know, it's gorgeous.
With views and wine.
So tell me a little bit, like let's tell people just a tiny bit about your trajectory, because you and I met at the Source.
Yeah.
You were the general manager there.
Yeah.
And then you moved out to Vineyards like a couple of years ago because you were at another vineyard, but now you're here. Like, how does one go from managing restaurants to managing vineyards?
Totally. So I have, for the last 20 years, lived in the Haymarket area and was commuting into DC to operate restaurants for various groups, Wolfgang, Jose Andres, RPM. And then, pandemic hit and we held tight, and then I just went through a moment of I need a break. But simultaneously, there was a big project happening in Linden. A winery was in construction, and I met the owners and joined that team, and we opened up Crimson Lane Vineyards.
Right.
And then shortly right after, about a year and a half after that, I took the much time that I wanted to take off and travel a little bit. So went back to Argentina, Mexico, did some local travel, and this opportunity with Barrel Oak came knocking, and I have a soft spot for Barrel Oak.
Why? Tell me why.
Because it's I would say it's one of the OGs of wineries within this area, and it's just so approachable, so friendly. It's a space that I have enjoyed with my family and my friends. So
well, for people who haven't been out here, because listen, we had the winemaker Jeremy on the show last week. He was able to walk us through the wine program and sort of his breadth and depth of what he wants here and
Yeah.
the expressions that he wants to share. But can you sort of walk people through the property, because there's an event here today.
Yeah.
You have Knead here. You have the house. Like, there's a lot of ways people can enjoy this. I mean, we haven't even gotten into the brewery.
Absolutely.
So can we just talk about all the different things that are happening here?
Yeah, I mean, I think the best way to describe it is we're an interactive tasting room, okay? So you can enjoy it at your pace. So if you are somebody who is looking, to really dive deep into the wine, we have a cellar tour for you, and that's
Right.
fantastic. We're gonna take you backstage, you're gonna meet the winemaker perhaps, you're gonna do a, where we process, where the tanks are, and then you're going to come up and we're going to do a guided tasting
we did
with
that
you.
last week,
and you go into
so
the
much
barrel
fun.
room. It's
and he
stunning.
took wine out
of the barrel.
Wine before its time.
Yeah.
That was really fun.
Very unique experience.
Yes.
Yeah. Some of the other things that you can do is if you're looking to just truly just chill. Okay, you can come in. Either get a flight ticket with you to wherever you choose to sit. We have hillside picnic tables that are stunning on a sunny day. We have a beautiful patio that you can sit and and enjoy as well, or sit inside. There's ample of seating internally. So it really depends on what you want to do. We've got a brewery aspect to the business, which is really unique.
When was the brewery added?
I don't have the exact date.
That's
but
okay.
Jeremy's going to give you that.
I mean, like, was it 2 years ago, 3 years
No,
ago,
it's
roughly?
been at least 6 years.
Okay, so it's been a component
Yeah,
out
6
here.
to 8 years ago.
Okay.
The brewery came about, and it's rocking and rolling. And we just won Virginia Best Brewery award from an international competition in New York.
Amazing.
Yeah, so a lot of cool things are happening.
Okay, and then when did you launch the house? So you took us up to see the house.
Yeah.
And people can rent it. Just give me a little bit of background on it.
The house is stunning. So the house used to be the residency of the previous owners, okay? And Ken and Cavell Bajaj, our current owners, they remodeled the house and gave it a lot of love. So we furnished it shortly after I came on board, and we have turned it into a potential long weekend stay sort of getaway, as well as a great house to rent out for private functions. So if you're looking for something very intimate or even upscale to a wedding, it can be done.
Yeah, I love it for a rehearsal dinner.
Yes,
do you know what I mean? Because you have that gorgeous slate patio.
Stunning view.
It just seems
stunning view.
Perfect.
Yeah,
and it has a gorgeous kitchen.
Yeah, and the house, fully loaded kitchen, and it's got character to it.
Yes.
There's a lot of architectural things that makes it really unique and just posh countryside.
And so, at what point did you all hook up with Jared Slip to bring Knead Pizza? Because there's an outpost here of Knead Pizza.
Right. Yeah.
When did that happen?
I think Jared has now been on board for about a year and a half.
Okay.
And listen, his pizzas are phenomenal. They go hand in hand with our wine, and people go nuts for them. And what's really unique about his pizzas, obviously he's going to talk about it, but from my perspective, is they're artisanal style pizzas, right? So this isn't your typical pizza delivery. This is like DC top-notch, Italian style pizzas. So I mean, it's a great marriage between the two of us, and we complement one another, and it's been fantastic to have him here.
Excellent. All right, will you tell everybody, please?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously everything is available in show notes, but where they can find information about what's happening, because I'm looking while you're talking at one of the TVs over there that's listing all the
events,
activations and all the bands that are coming and everything like that. So where people can go and find that kind of stuff.
The website's going to be the best platform, as well as Instagram. We're constantly uploading onto that, and one of the things that we're really doing is curating events throughout the weekend for people to enjoy. And some of these events, there's no cost to it. It's just for you to simply be in the space and enjoy. One of the events that we did recently was a comedy night that was fantastic.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, and we brought comedians from DC into the space, and listen, we were rolling and laughing, and the wine was flowing.
I was going to say, and the wine was flowing. That makes all the sense in the world.
Such a fun night, and we're going to do it again.
I love it. Oh, and didn't you also do yoga?
We're doing yoga. Yeah, that's coming up. So that's July 20th.
Cool.
And we're going to actually host it at the cottage.
Oh, very cool. The cottage. I called it the cabin. It's the cottage.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for hosting us.
Yes.
All right. I'm going to bring in Jared next. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
So I'm back with Master Sommelier Jared Slip, who I've known for a really long time, but he's not like a good friend, like he's not my best friend, but I would like to be best friends with him because he's a really cool guy and he does really good things. And we know a lot of the same people. Rachel Hayden's one of my dearest friends. Indeed. And I know you and Rachel and George are very good friends. But we met the first time at Nectar, and then
way back in the day,
and then followed up at City Zen, and then really I didn't see you for a long time because you were at RDV, and then we sort of reconnected at RDV. But I'd love to talk a little bit about, because you're chef trained, yes, with the CIA, and then you went out to Italy as well. So I'd love to talk a little bit about your trajectory, about what brought you out to Middleburg, but sort of your cooking level, your wine level knowledge, like how you attained those things and then brought it out to this area.
Medium short answer is I realized at a very young age that people have to eat and people have to die, and being a chef is infinitely sexier than being a mortician. So
very true.
I skipped my senior year of high school and went to like the local community college in Maine where I grew up for culinary arts. And then I went to Culinary Institute of America for one day and dropped out when I was 16.
Which one?
Hyde Park.
Hyde Park?
Yeah.
It's like Hogwarts there. I love that place. But but you were like...
Yeah, there was a girl, of course, in Scotland. So I went for one day, dropped out, ended up going back, finishing that, and then I did a master's program in Italy. It was Culinary Institute for Foreigners. So I'm technically a certified master Italian chef, which is not worth the paper it's even printed on, but it was a cool experience.
It does sound sexy. Where is that school in Italy?
Well, it was supposed to be in this medieval castle that they were purpose building for us, the pilot class, and they burnt it to the ground, putting in stoves with too high of a BTU. So like 2,000 year castle, gone.
Oh my God.
So they had to scramble, and they put us in an existing culinary school in Alba.
Not a bad area.
The epicenter of Piedmont winemaking, and truffles.
Yes.
So then I came back, and the sad truth of the restaurant industry is you can make 3 times the amount of money in the front of the house as the back of the house.
So many people don't realize that, but yes.
And if you want to have your own restaurant, you can be the greatest chef in the world, but if you don't have the social graces, the business acumen, the wine knowledge, the managerial aspect, the hospitality, it's less than half the game. So I jumped the fence and started learning to wait tables, and I was a captain, would get to wheel around a Garridon and make Caesar salads and light things on fire, and what's not to love?
No, that is fun. And then when were you just learning about wine? I can't remember.
So one of the things...
Nectar, you were front of house.
I was both. So I was the pastry chef during the day.
Okay.
And then put on a suit, and then I was the
front of house.
But
they were known for like an amazing wine program.
So Nectar had a really small wine list,
right? But it was.
But we did everything by the glass, half bottle and full bottle, which I've now resurrected with Tremolo.
Okay. Yeah.
Which has a very similar concept.
Okay.
Just with way crazier wines now.
But how did you gain your wine knowledge? Like, what was it about where you were and what you were doing at that point in your life where you were like, I need to be the expert in this?
So at the Culinary Institute of America, it's I think the only place in America where they have special dispensation that if you're underage, you can still taste wine in an academic environment. And then in Italy, being in Alba, we went to school 13 days every 2 weeks. And on the one Sunday that we had off every other week, we would sit down with the little old duffers that decided which wines became DOC and DOCG wines. And that's kind of how I caught the bug.
Okay.
And in DC, I went to a friend's house, and there was 2 of my very best friends to this day, John Waybeck and Kathy Morgan.
Oh, sure.
That were like tasting wines.
Oh my God,
I was like,
names from the
I was like, what are you doing? It's like, we're studying for
She's a master.
Yeah, she's a master.
Yeah.
And John should be, but now he's a master of whiskey now.
Oh, well,
and master of scotch. And they're like, we're studying for the master sommelier program. I was like, that's stupid. And I was like, well, why, you think it's so dumb? So I was like, I'll beat you at your own game. So
okay, so that's
how I got into it. It was a
dare.
competition.
It was a dare.
Competition amongst friends.
Okay, so then you go through City Zen, Eric Zubold, all the things, Andy. But what brings you out to Middleburg?
So I thought I blissfully retired from restaurant business. And I started at RDV Vineyards, maybe 2 miles as the crow flies from here, to be the estate director there for 6 years.
Okay.
And
what does an what does that mean? Like, what does an estate director do?
Everything, you
Okay.
name it. So I certainly wasn't the winemaker, but I had input there, hospitality, PR, sales. At one point we were self-distributing, so I'm driving around DC with a trunk full of fancy Virginia wine to drop off. So a little bit of everything.
Well, that makes sense. And at what point were you like, okay, I'm ready to get into the kitchen again? Because so just to be clear, you have Knead Pizza.
So we have Knead Wine.
Knead Wine.
Which does pizza. And then Tremolo.
Right.
And then the catering satellite outpost here of Knead Wine.
Right.
And then we're opening a new Knead Wine in Purcellville, which actually has seating, because the one in Middleburg was born out of COVID, and we purposely didn't want any seating.
So let's talk about how you came up with the concept. Were you just initially wanting to do a wine store and then decided to have pizza? Like, how did that come together?
So I left RDV to open a fancy restaurant in Middleburg, and we were going to do a fancy steakhouse, and I literally pushed away from the table for closing on the business because it was March 2020, and I was like, I don't know if it's the best idea to borrow $3-4 million and parlay that into a restaurant,
especially a steak restaurant.
So I walked away from it. And then I was like, okay, I just quit my magic wine job, and I just self-emulated my new restaurant. So what am I going to do? And it literally came to me in a dream. It was like pizza and wine. Okay. And I'd love to tell you that I'm a genius, but it was just the right thing at the right time.
Really, the right thing at the right time.
The only thing in the entire hospitality sector during COVID that was ahead of the game was takeout pizza.
Yes.
And the worse the world gets, the more people drink. So we had the 1-2 punch. But we were the only game in not just town, but for miles and miles and miles that actually was open.
So So for people who haven't had your pizza, can you explain the style of pizza? Is it DOCG?
No,
what are we talking about?
I was just in Italy, Naples, Franco Pepe, you name it, and I learned more what not to do than what to do.
Okay.
It's rooted in Neapolitan pizza, but true Neapolitan pizza, you cut it with scissors, you eat it with a fork and knife because it comes out of the
yeah,
exactly. And because we're takeout, it has to be more stable. It has to be, it has more texture. As such, it has more chew. And nobody talks about this, or nobody wants to talk about this. Italian flour doesn't have a whole lot of flavor.
Oh no,
amazing,
that's true.
Amazing texture, but
not
a
the
lot of
flavor.
flavor. So we
when you go to Rome, I'll never forget my first time in Rome, and I was 16. I was with my parents, and the bread came to the table, and I was so excited because I think I'm in Italy, and the bread is going to be amazing, and I was like, this needs salt. It had. I love the texture, but you really have to adjust to the flavor, which is not what we're used to here.
And
or in France,
half of
matter.
pizza is the dough, if not more. Just like sandwiches, you can't have a great sandwich without great bread.
Agreed. Okay. So how did you?
And our dough is still evolving.
And
we kind of sort of have it down now.
Were you the one playing with the dough? Did you bring some a pizziola in? Did you do that?
So my pizza guru Tony had a place in. He's actually a civil rights attorney turned pizza guy.
I love
Hands
that.
down the best pizza I've ever had in America. Long before he became my guy and my mentor and sensei. But I went and worked with him for a couple of weeks before we opened Knead, and then he moved to France because his wife works at The Hague. And before he moved, he came and hung out with us for a couple of weeks to dial things in, and we tried everything with dough, poolish, bigas, sourdough starters, and we purposely do everything wrong.
Okay.
Most pizzerias are making dough today for tomorrow. What's today? Today's Thursday. We're making dough today for next Wednesday.
So you're letting it ferment?
Yeah, so we do a really, really slow, long, straight fermentation.
Okay.
It takes up a ton of time.
And
it takes up a ton of space. And at Knead, we don't have walk-in refrigerators. We have 2 little refrigerators, one that's just dedicated to dough.
Okay, so when it's done, it's done.
Yeah.
When you're done. So you're finding that time to sit, that time to ferment allows the flavor to...
It builds flavor. It gives
sugars?
digestibility.
Yes. Yeah, no, because of the fermentation. That makes sense.
It softens the dough, so it's easier to work with.
Okay.
It cooks different. You know, if you try to make a pizza
so let's talk about the
day
cooking,
1 versus day 7.
Because I think so many people, you know, walk into pizza, you know, Neapolitan-ish pizza places or better pizza places, and they're expecting like a big wood fire oven or a big coal-fired oven, something big, unless you're in New York, and then it's deck.
Right.
What are you doing?
There's nothing wrong with coal fire. I mean, just ask Grimaldi's in New York. There's nothing wrong with wood fired.
I'm not saying you're gauntlet throwing. I'm just asking what you're doing.
They're a hassle that I don't need. Like, like I'm just trying to simplify and make life easier. We have an electric oven, which all the cool kids are using now. It's called Pizza Master from Sweden, of all places.
Okay.
I tell it what temperature I want it, and it does it every time.
But is it like a deck?
Yeah, it's deck ovens.
It is a deck oven.
You can use them for bread. We bake cookies in the morning with them.
I had your cookie.
Thank you.
With the peanuts.
Good?
Yes, it was so good.
So we come in, we make the cookies and get them in and out of the oven, because then we got to crank the temperature up for pizzas. And by the time we put them in the window, the cookies are gone in an
So what do you crank I'm just curious, like what's your ideal heat for the pizza?
Well, the oven will say 675 degrees, but it's more like 860 degrees in there.
Okay.
Because you can control the tops and the bottom. And
Got you. And then what are we looking at for pizza when it comes out of the oven? Like, you have a set menu of pizzas.
So
how did you devise what you wanted these pizzas to taste like?
They're kind of equally divided between red pies and white pies. All the pizzas are named after famous guitarists, typically blues rock guitarists, not always. And just a balance of flavors. I mean, it's not listed on the menu anywhere, but like we sell loads of margaritas. Like that's the litmus test for any great pizzeria.
Agreed.
Like if you can't make a good margarita,
get out of the game.
Stop playing around with other ridiculous ingredients.
Right.
So.
And then, so you started this in the pandemic.
Yep.
You're doing pizza.
Yep.
You're way ahead of the game. So did you already have a massive wine cellar? Like, where were you getting their wines from?
No, we just bought it from distributors.
Oh, okay.
Because they weren't selling to anybody, because every restaurant in the world was closed. So we had kind of carte blanche at whatever we wanted. But I wanted to keep it. So one thing about being a master sommelier is not, you know, looking cool and blind tasting and da-da-da. It's about making wine more accessible for everybody. So if you come to the shop...
I feel like I hear that from a lot of somms. Please don't be offended by this. But I think it really depends on who the audience is.
Right.
Like, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but I'm going to go like down a tiny rabbit hole. Even like young cool somms. Like, there's just sometimes...
I hate young cool somms.
Okay, well, you were a young cool somm.
No,
but,
I was a young uncool somm maybe.
I don't think so. But I just think sometimes somms, male and female, like there's a little bit of a gauntlet thrown. I know more. Do you know what I mean? Like, let me tell you, you think you don't like that because, do you know what I mean?
I see that, but I also see, and I do a lot of teaching, more than most, for the quartermaster sommeliers. And I like teaching, I don't like examining. I like to catch them when they're young and break them of this habit. But you know what? It's the restaurant business. It ain't about you.
Right.
Like, give people what they want. I was at a restaurant in DC, Michelin starred, will remain nameless.
I can't wait to figure it out.
And someone was like, do you want the pairing or the crazy pairing? And I was like, dude,
I just want my bottle of wine.
I don't want any pairing, because there's no one in the world that knows more about what I want to drink right now than me. And I don't want some cool hipster orange natural BS wine.
Funky wine.
I hate that crap. You know what I want? I want something that was cool 300 years ago.
I want
you know why?
Chablis.
Yeah, you know why Champagne, Burgundy, and Bordeaux is expensive? It's because it's good.
Right.
That's what I want.
Well, when we talk about expensive wines, as I went to Knead Wine last week just to see the space and get a cookie, because I went to Tremello first. But the way you sort of have the wines, can you talk about how you're curating them and making them accessible? Because you got some very relatively good priced wines, but then you've got like the blowouts too.
So To keep it simple,
Yes.
and accessible and easy for everyone, one wall's $20, no matter what you pick, and it's
Okay.
an order of lightest to heaviest. And the other wall's $45, same deal, lightest to heaviest. So you can like zero in on a price, and like what it obviously starts with like light crisp whites and gets into like big heavy Amarones and so on and so forth. And you have this wide spectrum in between.
Wow.
And of course we have, you know, a Virginia section, and we've got bubbles from all over the world. And if you want a ball, we have those too.
Sure.
You know, we have a couple of people that spend probably $50,000 to $100,000 a year with us with bonkers wine.
Right.
But that's not our bread and butter. That it's the less expensive wines that we do. And it's the
makes
same
sense.
concept at the new shop in
At the new
Bristol.
shop too. And then what made you decide to open up Tremello? I mean, I really want to go down the rabbit hole on Tremello
So
because how you do it, there's nobody doing what you're doing.
Right. I don't know if that's a good thing, but
I think
it was
it's a good
born
thing.
out of necessity. But Knead happened in the middle of COVID, and we specifically did not want seating because
COVID.
why pay for real estate that you can't use?
Right.
In hindsight, if we had seating, we'd be 2, 3, maybe 4 times busier. So I started looking for spaces that had.
But that space, I mean, I guess you could put seating in that space. Not really, maybe down the center.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
much.
And sometimes we use that as a communal table if people want. That's fine. And
Okay.
there's one table outside, but it's not like a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
So I started looking for other spaces that had seating. I was like, well, do I really want to have to drive 45 minutes and triangulate? And then this space came up literally a block away. I was like, do I want a 45-minute commute or a 45-second commute?
45 second.
So now we have Tremello, and it's small. We call them snacks. Some are, you know, a bowl of almonds to like, you know, composed dishes.
And popcorn.
Right.
I think when we walked in, I forgot that it was called snacks. And the woman who greeted us, she's like, hi, how can we help you today? I was like, I want snacks. She's like, I have snacks. I was like, great. But you also, so let's talk about the kitchen or lack of kitchen.
There is no kitchen.
There's no kitchen.
We have no kitchen.
So, but you're doing composed dishes, hot dishes, cold I mean, all the dishes are composed.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the menu, how you're putting it together, and what you're using to execute.
So there's no hood system. It was going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to just
it's
put
an
in a
old
hood.
building.
So it would have been a complete deal breaker.
Right.
There's no open flame. There's no fryalators. We do everything out of Turbo Chef ovens.
And what are they? What are Turbo Chef ovens?
You ever have a breakfast sandwich at Starbucks that takes 32 seconds to make?
Do I look like somebody who's had that? The answer is no.
You've never stopped at to get gas and a cup of coffee? Or no? Okay.
No.
I have.
Okay.
I'll admit it. Starbucks is the #1 purchaser of Turbo Chef in the world, as far as I know.
Because of the sous vide stuff that
so
they do?
they're egg bites that
Yeah.
are actually made by Cuisine Solutions.
Yes, I'm well aware.
But there's no barista anywhere in the world at Starbucks that uses these like we do.
Okay.
I don't know if
So how
I don't
many-
know if Turbo Chef even does what we
Okay,
do
so
with these things.
so
I don't know
how-
if you're even supposed to do
Well, that's what. So
with these things what we do.
So how do you use them? How many do you have?
So we have 3.
Okay, and they're just tabletop?
It's you can get them in different sizes. We have one model. They're just like kind of like you can fit one tiny little baby sheet pan in each one.
Okay, and how are you using them? What are you making? Let's talk about some of the dishes that you're
Everything.
serving there.
We do hanger steaks in them, so we'll sear the hanger steaks in there, and then let them rest, and then like reflash them. We do duck confit. We do duck breast.
We do that sausage
we do
with
scallops,
white beans.
like anything that needs
So
cooking
wait,
goes into the Turbo
you
Chef.
can sear scallops in it?
Yeah. If you know how. The learning curve is programming it.
Okay.
Once you have it programmed, you push the button and it does it it's like the perfect employee.
But then you have to train your staff, obviously.
I just push this button.
That's it?
Well, and then you have to plate it, and
Right.
you know,
Well-
90, and then and we're no different than any other restaurant where like more than half the cooking happens before a guest even arrives to the restaurant. It's all mise en place.
Right,
It's all prep.
all of it. So, okay, so I think the menu is beautiful. We were there last week.
Thank
We had
you.
this cucumber dish that I thought was really, it was a very hot day.
Right.
It's like a swirled cucumber.
Yeah, it's
with
like a riff on like Hasselback potatoes.
Yes, exactly. And it was just beautifully plated with some spicy sauce. It was delicious. What's interesting also, though, is I guess it's not interesting. It's obvious the way the wine program there and how you're doing it. I mean, you are doing cocktails too, which are pretty snazzy. But can we talk about how you're doing wine there? Because it is kind of a throwback, but it's also really good wines.
Yeah,
like really good wines.
You know, we did Nectar when I was 24 years old.
Okay.
And we did it for a year before we basically got fed up, drank everything in the cellar, took the pictures off the wall, and walked out the door. Because that's what you do when you're a stupid kid.
Right.
So I resurrected the concept of, if it's on the list, we do it by the glass, half bottle, and bottle, no matter what it is.
Okay.
We do insane things that no other restaurant in the world probably, like.
But how are you making
61 Acam by the glass, Chateau Latour. Right now, I think it's 2006 by the glass.
Wow.
Costerie by the glass. Ravenau by the glass.
And so how are you maintaining the wines? You don't have an enomatic.
We have, right now we have 4 different Corvin machines that we use. And we have enough volume and clientele that we move through things. And we know if it's a big ticket item,
it's gonna sell.
There's a list. We know what's open. Mm-hmm. And worst case scenario, I have to drink it.
That makes sense.
So.
Now, we were talking off air about corkage.
Yeah.
You've been in the business a long time. To me, I mean, I'm never coming into a restaurant, especially a restaurant that has an amazing wine program, whether it's a Citizen or Tremello, with my own bottle of wine. I mean, I'm not going to do any better than what you have. But you and I both know lots of people, you know, who are massive wine collectors,
sure,
do travel with their wine. But the layperson doesn't really know corkage. They don't really understand how it works. So can we talk about sort of the rules of corkage, sure, and where your head is on it?
I think every restaurant has a different take on it. I don't dislike the idea, and it doesn't have to be just for the collectors. Maybe you got married last year and somebody gave you a special bottle of wine and it's your anniversary and you want to bring it out to, you know, celebrate.
Right.
Awesome.
Right.
Great. I'm all for it. We've had people bring in like a bottle of like $30 maybe Kendall Jackson Chardonnay that was 10 years old and was probably on top of a fridge, and I guarantee you it's dead. I'm happy to open it for you. I mean, maybe there's a background story that I don't know about. Again,
right,
it's less about service and more about hospitality.
Yes.
But this is one of the 2 revenue centers for restaurants, and
right,
restaurants are in the business of staying in business, so they have to make money, so you have to charge something for it. Mm-hmm. And people don't think about the labor that goes behind it. How many glasses do you need? How
right,
long is it going to cost? How many dollars am I going to pay the staff to sit around and polish these glasses long after you've left?
Right.
And winemakers are the worst. I hate winemakers that come in and only drink their own wine,
okay,
and then demand like new glasses for the same vintage because there might be bottle variation. It's so obnoxious. Like drink other wines. Like, you know, right, what your wine tastes like. Drink other wines. Expand your horizon.
Okay, but what do you charge for corkage? And what's the going rate for corkage?
No, that's not true. Somebody came in actually on Sunday night, okay, and brought a bottle. I don't know if there was a specific reason or occasion to it, but we charged $45.
Okay, and is that standard?
Yep.
Standard fee?
And, you know, usually if you offer the sommelier or the team like a taste or a glass, the corkage price,
waived,
irrespective of what they charge, miraculously disappears.
Okay, so it usually gets waived. Well, I think about it like if you're bringing a birthday cake. I
right,
hear that a lot. Like, people send me emails about restaurants that they go to, and they're like, I mean, we bought a birthday cake, and then they charge us a slicing fee.
Plating fee, right.
And I was like, yeah, because you didn't order dessert.
Right.
And that's where they make their money.
Right.
But people just don't see restaurants as businesses. It's so strange. It's such a weird dynamic.
Yeah, one-offs are fine. I think I can count on one hand the amount of times people have brought wine in for corkage at Tremello.
Okay.
The new restaurant, like our corkage fee, I don't know, it's like a self-imposed corkage fee. Mm-hmm. The wine list is the wine shop.
Right.
You want a $20 bottle of wine, it's $20 plus $10 corkage. You want a $45 bottle of wine, it's $45 plus $10 corkage.
Right. You want to drink it here, it's an extra $10.
Right. Which is an insane deal because most
is,
restaurants have 2.5 to 3 times markup. Now you're paying retail plus $10.
Right.
And the more money you spend, the crazier the deal becomes. Like, you want to spend $4,000 on a bottle of DRC? We have that. It's $4,000 plus $10. And that bottle is $12,000 in New York City.
That's insane.
Yep.
Okay, tell me about the new space, and then I want to know why. Well, you tell me what you want to discuss first. You opened up an outpost here
Yep.
of Knead, and then you're opening up the new one in Percival. So let's just get a little 411. Why open at a vineyard
So
and a brewery?
for a few hours every Saturday and Sunday, this becomes a 1,200 seat restaurant.
Wow.
I mean, look around. I
know, it's massive. The place is
there's-
massive.
There's picnic tables for miles.
I know, it's so gorgeous.
The Bajaj family that now owns the winery have a farm in Upperville, which is the town next to Middleburg. And it's actually a funny story. They would call and order pizzas on the weekends. Like, hey, can we get 20 pizzas in 10 minutes? Like, no. You get 20 pizzas in like an hour. Hey, can we get 30 pizzas in 15 minutes? It's like, no, it's like, so we would call it like getting Bajaj. So we actually knew them before we knew them.
Okay.
And then when they purchased the winery, they reached out to see if we wanted to come and do it. And we came and took a look and was like, yeah, this is great.
I love it.
So
It's great.
that's how we ended up here.
That does make sense.
Weirdly, Percival comes full circle because the space that I was looking at, which was another pizza restaurant that they were trying to sell, I was like, I'll buy you out.
Okay.
Well, we can't do it. The landlord won't allow it. Well, what do you mean? Well, they don't want another pizza place. It was like, okay, well, you just give me the phone number and I'll call and just double check.
Right.
And he gave me the name and I was like,
Oh, I know.
oh yeah, we're good. We're cool. And I said,
it's a Bajaj.
So I sent an email to Ruben and I was like, I want to do this. He's like, I want you to do this. And here we are. So hopefully we open in 3 weeks.
I was going to say ETA. So
Second week of July.
excellent.
Permits pending.
Of course. So we can't wait to come and check it out.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Can you tell people where they can find you, either online or like where's the best place to find you?
Like socially, like I try. Like I'm not even allowed to have the logins for my own restaurants because
Okay,
I'll
do you
fly
have a
off the handle.
website? Do you have a website?
We do have a website.
Okay, let's get
yes,
the website.
Kneadwine.com and tremolobar.com.
Okay, great. It was so good to see you.
Thank you so much for having
I can't
me.
wait to come in and see. I have a lot of wine to drink. I
Please.
can't wait. Next time I'm not driving. Jared Slip, Tremolo, Knead Winery. We'll be back in just a second.
Thanks so much.
Great, thank you. So I'm here with Chef Pete Smith because Adriana Luca, who was on earlier in the show, told me no matter what you do, one of your guests has to be Chef Pete Smith. So I was like, of course, how am I not going to have him on? And we talked on the phone. I was like, oh my God, he's done a lot of things. So, and he actually executes here at the Vineyard and Brewery, doing wine dinners and things of that nature. And I think you can hire him if you want to rent out that cabin, or what do they call it? It's not a cabin, it's a house. Cottage. Thank you. Yay, Alex, helping me out. So it's a cottage. It has a gorgeous kitchen. I think you can get him for that too. But we're going to find out about him, and then we'll get there. Hi.
Hey,
how are you?
you?
Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So you've been out here for a while, but you didn't start here. You were one of the youngest chefs in Florida, like at 22. You got like a
Yes.
major like accolade. You want to
Yes.
talk about that?
Yes. So I'm originally from Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay.
And if anyone knows Jacksonville is usually behind everyone else.
Okay.
But
I'll take your word for it.
But yes, I was the youngest and the first African American to run a 4-star, 4-diamond restaurant at
Wow.
that time, which was a big deal at that time.
It's still a big deal.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that was 1998. So
Okay.
I'm sorry, that was in 2000. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what's your trajectory? Like, how did you get up here? I know you were at the Salamander Hotel. Like, how did all that happen for you?
Well, I got recruited by the Salamander Group about 3 years ago. I was in Savannah actually. So I relocated here from Savannah, Georgia.
Okay.
I was at a historic restaurant called the Old Pink House.
Oh, yeah.
Totally big deal if you ever go to Savannah.
You have to go there.
You go there, they talk about nothing but the Old Pink House, right?
Okay.
So I was the chef there for a little bit of time, and then I got recruited from Salamander to come up here and work with the Salamander Group. Yeah.
But Salamander had been around for a while. I mean, you're working with a group that has a certain level of expectations. So what was it? Were you at Harriman's? Like, what were you doing there? Did you just take over the whole space?
Actually, I was at the market.
Okay.
So they actually,
Which that market is pretty fantastic.
Yes, Miss Johnson's first property in Middleburg was the Salamander Market.
Right.
So that was like her little baby.
Her little baby.
So, for me, that was the perfect opportunity and the perfect place for me. So I was the executive chef of the market.
And so what were you executing there? Because
Everything.
that market is like insane. We don't even have markets like that in DC.
Yeah. So, you had the retail area, right? And then you had your fresh sandwiches and little light entree dishes for, and then you have your brunch items, right? That's for the day-to-day operations.
Right.
And then you have these private parties, and then these big caterings, whether it's a wedding, an event party, wine dinner, a beer dinner, or any kind of theme party.
You were just in it. Well, plus at the main property, they brought out lots of different chefs over the years, like lots of collabs and stuff like that. So what made you decide, like, did you just love it here? You're like, I love this area, I want to stay here. How'd you wind up, like you left there and now you're at the club. So tell me what that's like.
So what really happened, the truth is.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Is I have custody of my daughter.
Good for you.
So, once you get kids involved, you don't want to move them in too many different areas.
Yes.
So when we came here, or when she came here, I'm kind of, okay, well, I know I'm here for 4 years now because she's in high school.
Okay.
And they don't want to switch. Nobody wants to switch high school.
No.
And we ain't in the military. So the next opportunity that I had was at the club, right? And the way the club is set up and all the opportunities I have there works great with things I do on my personal time.
I was going to say there's a work-life balance. Like,
yes.
Can we let's talk about that as being a chef who's worked in resorts and worked in restaurants and markets. It's not a 9-to-5 job.
No, it's not.
But if you're working at a country club, there is more of a work-life balance.
Yes, to a certain degree.
Right.
A lot of it, just like any club, is based on the membership, how the membership is structured, and how the country club is structured.
Okay.
So, but most of them, because of the membership base, it's not so much pressure on the F&B side where you have to be there 24/7.
Right.
Right. So that part works out great, which goes into the work-life balance.
Because there's like food events, you know what I mean? Like there are special nights and things of that nature. But I do know other chefs, or like I've heard other chefs talk about like it's hard, it's good news, bad news, like depending on your ego, right? Because when you're used to executing at a restaurant, like you're used to like the burn and the churn and like the swagger that goes with it.
Get them in, get them out.
Right? But like you're also like working crazy ass hours.
Yes.
So, and you have a kid, and so there's not a lot of fairness in a restaurant. It's not family friendly.
Yeah, and then you go into like the resort side or the inn side. That's pretty much, I think, a 24-hour operation.
Right.
Right.
You're on call.
You're on call 24 hours. If something happens at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, whether it be someone's breakfast or something happened at someone's room that's regarding food or whatever, you're on call.
It's on you.
Yeah.
So you like this situation. It's really working for you.
Absolutely.
So being in this area, though, you've gotten very involved with lots of different things. You're a part of, you're on the advisory board for the Taste of the Blue Ridge. Can we talk about that a little bit? Like what's happening with that and how are you a part of it?
So I got involved with the Taste of Blue Ridge actually first just to help market the market.
Okay.
But once that have came and gone, I'm still involved, not necessarily just the market. I'm just very involved with the mission. And the mission is, try and get chefs with farmers to use their food and promote them, and wineries. And, my thing is just love supporting small businesses. Or I like to say taking care of the little man, right? I'm that guy, I don't need to be in the face or in the front. If you want to put me in the front and that helps, that's fine. I don't need the front. I'll be in the back, and I just want to help support these, small family businesses.
Well, have you found, because like there are beautiful farms out here.
Yes.
And the sort of pendulum swing of artisans and farmers in this area has really grown in the last 30 years.
Oh yes, a lot.
You know, I did a show with the Ovica farm people.
Okay.
And they're fantastic meats, and I got to pet the cows, and they're so sweet. It's hard to reconcile like petting a cow and then having steak for dinner, but you know, we all do it.
Yeah.
But anyway, well, not everybody, but I do it. So have you found some partners out here, or there are farmers out here, or people that you're like, God, it's just so cool? Mm-hmm. Tell us about it.
Well, you know, Avoca Farm is one. It's the local Wagyu.
F1.
Wagyu, yeah.
F1. Yes.
Which is here in our own community. It's literally probably 10 miles.
It's like right there
in Paris.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not that far away from here. Ann Fox, she grows, she's in Winchester. She does her own local greens and edible flowers and arugula and things of that nature. There's a lot of farms that I try and work with. Whiffletree, who has, I think, the best chicken in the world.
Really? Whiffletree?
Yeah, they do chicken, duck, beef, and pork actually.
Okay.
But I think they have the best chicken around.
All right.
So I work with as many farms that I can. I meet them at farmers markets, or I just meet them by being in the business. I try and promote them as much as I can. And I usually work with them on promoting their business, where I would like either do cooking classes at their farm, or I would feature them at one of my cooking classes or wine dinners, or any type of event that I have, I will feature them if possible. And that goes the same with breweries and wineries too as well.
Sure. So like when you do a wine dinner here, do you work with them to create the menu, or they're like, chef, you do you, pair the wines, we'll make it happen? How does it go down?
It's kind of all the above. We'll work together as far as they're telling me, hey, this is what I'm kind of looking for. And then I meet them halfway, you know, with my creativity and what I think should be presented, along with promoting the wines that's paired with that meal.
And what is kind of turning you on these days? Like, what are you putting on the plate?
Well, right now we're in summer. So what do we like during summer? You know, tomatoes,
yes,
peaches,
yes, herbs
are amazing right now. You know, your squashes, your zucchinis, mushrooms. You know, you have your lion mane mushrooms, you have your morel mushrooms.
Are you a forager? Do you forage?
Sometimes.
Okay.
I won't say I'm a forager, but I have my moments.
You have your moments.
I have my moments.
Okay.
It's the same thing with like gardening or farming. Like I would tell you, I'm not a gardener or farmer, but like I dabble. Every now and then.
You have thoughts.
I have my moments.
You have thoughts. Somebody I know is a forager, and this is several years ago, and they came to my house with a beautiful bag of champagne chanterelles, you know, the golden ones.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then, you know, but like I never had somebody give me like mushrooms picked from the ground before. So I like put them in a colander, and I'm like cleaning them, and then like all these bugs started coming out. I was like, oh, I'm not prepared for that. I was like, I'm gonna need some help with this.
Yeah.
But it is really cool. Yeah. You know?
Well, you gotta know how to take care of the product too. But I mean, these days, I mean, we got it pretty easy. We could easily pick up a phone and, okay, YouTube, champagne chanterelles, how do you clean them?
Yes,
and then like, here we are.
Right.
So.
Very true. It is much easier today. Lastly, you and I talked a little bit on the phone. You're a part of a mentorship program. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
So when I was in Florida, or I should say the Southeast, I worked with a group, the Minority Summit group. Okay. So what we did is we traveled a lot in the Caribbean, working with these small culinary schools to mentor these kids to be able to work with them.
Because you worked in St. Vincent?
Yeah, St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Yes.
So we work with these schools to mentor them and get them ready for, you know, the workforce outside of the island. Because what these islands do, especially the Bahamas is like number one. Okay. What they do is they take their kids and they put them in these culinary schools, and they train them just to work in the touristy area in the Bahamas, and they want to keep them in the country, which is fine. However, you know.
But it's not enough education.
Correct.
Right.
And there's better opportunities outside the country. I'm not telling them to leave their country, but there's opportunity. Like we leave our country, right?
Right.
So it's opportunities to do interns in other places. You know, a lot of us that came through back in my day did a lot of interns in France and the Caribbean and Spain, and it's like the same thing when they're in those islands. So try and build those relationships and give those kids those opportunities to do that. We haven't really did anything in the last couple years. I'm actually going to talk to the president soon and see can we get it started back
Up again. Well, the
Yeah.
pandemic sort of like quashed all these amazing programs that the hospitality industry really needs right now because there's such a staffing shortages are still very, very real.
And it's a great fellowship and networking for all the actual chefs that go, because it's a lot of us. It's usually like 20 or 30 of us at a time that go, and so it's a great program, and trying to get that started back up again.
Well, that would be great.
Yeah.
Well, keep me posted on that. All right, Chef, tell everybody how they can do like a wine dinner here with you, or how they would book you to do a cooking class or something like that.
Okay. Well, if you want to do a cooking class, there's just a lot of different ways that you can go. You can do it by setting up, going through the Piedmont Club. That's one way of doing it. You can contact me privately, and we can set that up via Facebook, Instagram under Chef Roderick.
I'll have all that in the show notes. I'll have it all for you.
Also, my other business too, which is Chef Feature. Chef Feature is a company where I sell customized spices and sauces. And I also use that company to do.
That was not in your bio, dude. Okay, tell me more.
There's a lot.
Okay.
The page wasn't long enough.
Okay.
No, but I do customized sauces and spices for the consumer to buy, because everyone falls in love with recipes. Hey, how can I do that? And we did talk how I'm really big on family cooking and people keep cooking at home.
Yes.
So that's one of the ways that I help with that. You know, I
Okay.
give them, oh, you're not a great cook? Well, here's the spice.
Right.
You know, if you don't know how to cook chicken, use that spice right there on your chicken, on your pork, and
You'll be fine.
I got you. Yeah.
I love that. Okay.
So, you know, we have the Chef Feature company that does that. And I also use that company to donate to as well to these programs that we come, because funding is not always easy, right? So I use my company to be able to donate if we're doing something for the Taste of Blue Ridge, or if we're doing something for the club, for the client for the club that maybe budget is not that big. I would donate the wine, or I would donate some mushrooms or whatever that could work in my budget from the company to donate.
Great. Well, I appreciate you coming out today and
I just
sharing.
like helping people and taking care of people.
Well, and that comes through.
Yes.
So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. So thank you also for joining me today. This was an amazing show, and if you haven't been out to this area, obviously there's so much to do and see here. Don't forget to follow me at NYCCI, NELLIS on all the platforms. You can download this show on YouTube or listen it to all your favorite podcast platforms. And check out thelistareyouonit.com, because everything you heard here today will be on there as well. I appreciate you listening, and have a delicious week.
Produced by Heartcast Media.